Welcome to day 10. I am labeling today's session as pelvic power. So we are going to be focusing on pelvic stability, and we're going to do some of those hip hinges but in standing, so it's a little bit more loaded. If you found that when you did the seated hip hinges, if you felt anything in your lower back, I want you to stick with the seated hip hinges and focus on that co-contraction between the front of the abdominals and that lower back. We want to make sure that there's no arching into it or any curling forward into it. Okay, so once you've got that one down, you can join in for the standing variation we're going to do today. But for now, we're going to go in, I like to call them leg swaps, toe tap changes. Yeah, kind of self-explanatory, I think. So let's come down onto our mat on our backs. Your pelvis is going to be in a neutral position and the ribs connected. The whole idea is to make sure that we keep the pelvis stable and neutral. So there's no rocking forwards and backwards when we move and no side to side tilts. So we want to engage that core like a beautiful corset around the spine, connecting into that pelvic floor. We're going to inhale to prepare, exhale, keeping the left hip grounded, light pressure in that left foot. Let's lift that right leg up to a tabletop position. That's a 90-degree bend in the knee is above the hip, the shin is parallel to the floor. Be careful of bringing it too far in and then that tailbone tucks and you're no longer in neutral, or keeping it a little far away, which is going to lend you towards a slight arch if the core is not deeply engaged. Inhale to prepare and exhale. Keep the pressure on the back of the pelvis, the same place as you then swap the legs simultaneous. It's a light tap of the toe on the floor. You're not placing it down and disengaging the body. Inhale and exhale to swap. Keep those ribs connected. Keep the knee bent at 90. Sometimes people bend the knee to get the toe to the floor easier. You're then reducing the work in that in that core. You want to make sure that the hip is hinging forward so the load moves away to then load those lower abs. Inhale, exhale, swap. Good. And again, soft shoulders, relax the arms. If you find you're really struggling to keep the ribs down and connected, place a pillow under your head. You could be particularly tight in the chest area, and then it's going to pull that neck and you're going to really strain in order to keep the ribs connected. So just add a little pillow to get a little lift in the neck, and you'll find it a lot easier to then hold those ribs down and engage into that core. Let's go 2 more each way. You want to finish with your left leg up, lower the right foot completely down, and then lower that foot down to meet it. All right, so that is level 1. Now we're going to go for some single-legged pelvic curls, but we're going to make them a very small little lift initially, so we focus a bit more on that glute engagement while we get that core ready to be able to keep everything stable and aligned. So from here again, neutral pelvis, ribs connected, light pressure in the left foot, anchor that left hip, and lift the right leg up to tabletop. Sorry, I didn't actually mention before, setup. You're going to have feet relatively close to the sit bones. You may want them slightly closer than you think to give you a bit more support. Fist distance gap, and then right leg lifted. From here, we're going to inhale and exhale. Tuck the tailbone using those abdominals, imprinting that lower back, and give me a little mini lift up and off the floor, accentuating the tuck of that tailbone. You're going to feel engagement for days in that left leg, and then gently lower down, return the pelvis to neutral. It's really important to start in neutral and end in neutral. Sometimes people like to keep the tuck and just move up and down from there, but we're trying to work with getting the hips to move in such a way that there isn't any snap. There's nice free gliding movement. And if we limit our range because we're maintaining that slight tuck, we're not going to get as much from it as we can. And let's go again. Inhale, exhale, start with the abdominals, tucking that tailbone, add pressure into the left foot to deepen the tuck and that left glute activation, and peeling slightly off the floor. We want to make sure that right hip is lengthening away and it is still level. Think of connecting left inner thigh with right oblique, and then exhale to gently lower back down, release to neutral. You will know if you need to double check the pelvis, because when you come back down, you will feel all of the engagement release. And what you feel will help you know, was the hip elevated? Because when I came down, did it lengthen and release away? Those kinds of things. So feel what your body is telling you when you come back down to help you course correct. So we're going to inhale, lengthening the right hip away, connecting into that left glute with a bit of pressure in the foot, abdominals starting the tuck, and then exhale, tiny lift. And inhale, reverse, and lower back down. We're going to do it 2 more times on the left leg, and then we'll do 5 on the right. Inhale, exhale, scooping, tucking, activating, and slight lift, right hip lengthening. Get that inner thigh engaged and gently roll back down. Inner thighs are extremely important for the pelvis to work, just as everything else is, but the inner thighs often don't get enough love. We're going to inhale, exhale, scooping, tucking, lifting, lengthen the right hip away. Feel that left inner thigh and rolling back down, releasing to neutral. All right, we're now going to do the other side. So getting set up, feet and knees fist distance, heels slightly closer than you think they need to be, pelvis neutral, ribs connected. Your setup is one of the most important things to do. If you set yourself up right, you have a better chance of performing the exercise more effectively. So please take that time to make sure that setup is on point. All right, light pressure in the right foot. Exhale to lift the left leg up to tabletop. Keep that left hip softly lengthening away. We're going to inhale, exhale, draw the belly in, tuck that tailbone, deepen the tuck through that right foot, slight lift, inner thigh on that right side, and gently lower down and release. And let's go again. And inhale down. You may find one side is a lot easier than the other. Very, very, very common, as we often have cross patterning take place in the body where right is tight to right to left. And when you're connecting into the strength of that zigzag line, it's quite easy to keep centered. But when we're working into the weak crisscross, it's a lot more challenging. So take your time and exhale, scoop, tuck, rise. Inhale and exhale to lower back down. And 3 more. And gently lowering back down. 2 more. Right inner thigh, left oblique, left hip gently lengthening away. And exhaling down. And let's go last one. And lowering back down. Releasing that left leg back down to the floor. You can give the hips a little shake, a little wobble if you like, if you're feeling like they are have a little bit of tension from all the work that you've just done. Okay, we're now going to move into those standing hinges. So from here, again, head cuts off, head is unimportant, rest of the body the important part. I want you to have those feet roughly fist distance apart again for me, so that we're focusing on keeping that beautiful alignment. I want the knees to just be out of their locked position, so that we're not relying on bone to do the work. We want to rely on the muscles doing that work for me. Okay, I tend to have, you can see me naturally standing with no effort, quite a lower back arch and upper back hunch. So to correct that, I go for a slight tuck in the tailbone to get that neutral pubic bone, hip bone. Then my rib cage likes to be slightly flared, so I just connect into that. And from there you can see that beautiful line for that standing position. Now I'm going to maintain the connection between the front and the back of the body. I want the knees to be soft and you're hinging from that hip joint, exactly like we did from the chair. Hinging forward, hinging forward. Be careful of arching, keeping that engagement in the front line to the back line, and then exhale to hinge back up from that pelvis. Okay, and again, inhale, hinging, 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 and then exhaling to rise back up. Go with the height that works for you. I don't want you leaning too far forward if you're finding that it's too much of a struggle to rise back up. You've got to work with the body you have. I can go in for a nice deep, I've got the hamstrings, I've got the strength. So finding which variation, even if you just hinge slightly forward and slightly up again. Let's go for 3 more. Hinging, keep the ribs connected, keep the tailbone long. And exhaling to rise back up. Okay, 2 more. Hinging, belly engaged, ribs active, pelvic floor. Lengthen through the crown of the head. You're still trying to make space between those vertebrae. Exhale, hinging up. And let's go last one here for me. Hinging, hinging, hinging. And exhaling to restack and rise. And guys, that is the session for today. So slightly more loaded, a little more focus, a little bit more detail in the exercises now. So if you're finding it again a little bit too much to sort of concentrate on, revert back to the previous videos. Get yourself really tapped into them before moving on. Get that foundation down solidly, because then these exercises you're going to find easier and they'll be more effective for your body. Please take the time. There's no need to rush. There's no need to feel like you have to be able to do the biggest, baddest moves just yet. We're building onto it. But I hope you enjoyed the session. And again, let me know if there's any questions you have.